Hello guys, this is Aku MTG, and today I'm going to help you guys solve the question: how do I build decks that make me a better player? This can be used for any format in Magic. It is not only restricted to Commander, but in this example, I'm going to show you the Commander example since you have the most freedom to brew and to come up with your own creations, especially in bracket 2 and 3, which is where most of the players play. So, let's get right into it. There is 3 keys to getting a deck that can help you express your skill of the game and can help you learn more about the game the more you play the deck, which means you can play it more often. And all your lovely dollars that you spend or cards that you traded in, you will still be able to play them for a very long time because the deck is just very interesting. So one of the things is responsiveness. Responsiveness is how well can you respond to what's going on the board, and what timings can you respond in. So if you can respond in literally any player's turn at instant speed, and you can respond to a lot of different things on the stack, then that is a high responsiveness, and that's what we generally want. For example, a deck with low responsiveness, I'm going to use popular, powerful commanders here that you probably will know, is Zur. Zur is very high in the other 2 categories that we're going to talk about, but he's very low in responsiveness because he has to attack and he has to stay around on the field. Those are 2 conditions that have to be met before he can really pop off. That's why for a lot of Zur decks, there's a lot of interaction in the deck in order to protect him or to make sure he stays on the board. And there's a lot of responsiveness in a lot of good Zur decks, even in the casual ones. Like Counter Magic, for example. Yeah. The next pillar of our ways to express our skill will be flexibility and modality. How many different things can I do with each card? Take, for example, Flubs the Fool. Flubs the Fool, very straightforward card, very powerful card in Commander. There's lots of different ideas you can do with the deck, but most of them are restricted to the restriction of the Commander, of course, that you have to discard a card. He wants you to just play lots of cheap spells. And you will have a lot of mana available too. So Flubs is very high in responsiveness because you can play a lot of instant speed interaction. Those are good colors for that. And he's also very unpredictable, but he's not very flexible or modal because if you don't have your commander out, you cannot do what you want to do. And sometimes even if you have him out, there's a few other conditions that need to be met. And most of the cards in your deck, they probably do around the same thing. They probably make sure that you can keep going with your plan and maybe some interaction. Yeah, so not as high a flexibility and modality as, for example, Zur, where Zur can tutor for literally anything. And then our last example is unpredictability. So a deck that is unpredictable is generally a lot better because other players will not know what to expect and they will have to use their best judgment in order to play against you. Which means they'll have to think a little bit harder and think a little bit more. And a good example for a commander that's not very unpredictable is Prosper. Prosper, very powerful commander. Once again, these are popular and powerful commanders that I'm using here as examples so that everyone knows what cards I'm talking about. Prosper is not a very unpredictable commander because it's literally right there. You can see what card he's going to play next turn, and it's very telegraphed, the turn. Okay, so with this in mind, you want as many of these categories as possible to be in your commander deck. And if you don't have one or the other, maybe make sure you put a little bit more of the category you're lacking into your deck in order to express a little bit more skill. Let's move on. Here we have Wrath Capuchin. This is my commander that I chose for this challenge. He's not a very popular commander, so it's going to be a little bit more exciting to solve him. And yeah, so 4 mana, 3/3, vanilla flying, basically. But you may cast historic spells as though they had flash. And there is a very wide variety of cards that you can use in historic. So you have access to artifact strategies, legendaries, and sagas, and even planeswalkers. So it's great. What are we trying to do with this commander? It's a 2 mana commander. Two color commander. So we only have access to white and blue, but that's all we're gonna need. And this commander wants a lot of spells that impact the game when flashed in right away. We do not want to flash something in that we then have to maybe attack with in order to get the trigger, or like something later. Like there's a few exceptions, but it has to be like, okay, ETB, static ability, something has to happen. We want a high density of historic spells in order to get the best benefit out of this commander, and also to be a little bit more flavorful. And we want cards that can be used in many different ways, because this commander wants us to keep mana open on every player's turn if we're playing in a 4-player game. So that way we can keep all of our options open. We can interact with our opponents. We can use protection spells, removal. And if nothing happens that is going to affect our board, then we can drop down our value pieces like card draw, equipment, and get them ready for the next turn. If nothing else happened, drop down value, even like a mana rock, we can just flash in and we can continue with our turns. So very, very effective at doing that. And there's a lot of politicking strategy that you can do as well. Since you will have all your mana open, you can tell people literally whatever you want and make whatever deals you want, because all your mana is open, all the possibilities are there. You can tell them, oh, I have like this 6 mana angel in my hand, and you might or might not have it. I'm not telling you to lie, but yeah, bluffing is a thing, and politicking is also a thing. That's very fun with this commander for sure. And you also will have to politic in order to win sometimes, because this deck does not have a 100% win rate. So, the Capitoline Triad is my secret companion. What is a companion in Magic? A companion is usually something with a deck restriction that is that you can have in order to get some extra value. You can put it in your hand and then play it. This is my secret companion, so it's in the deck, and yeah, it's basically an extra deck restriction that we have, which synergizes very well with our commander. So it's a 10 mana 7/7, which most of the time it's a 0 to 3 mana-ish 7/7, which is really good. Also to flash it in as a blocker. And yeah, it says exile any number of historic cards from your graveyard with total mana value of 30 or greater. And then you get an emblem. Emblems cannot be interacted with in Magic. Creatures you control have base powers offered as 9/9. So this is one of our win cons, and it's very exciting whenever we get it off. And this deck makes sure you can get it off as smoothly and best as possible while also playing really cool cards. It does not just storm off with like all like cheap artifacts in order to get them in graveyard and that's it. It's built to play exciting, cool cards that do lots of different things. What does this secret companion want? Total mana value of 30 is a challenge to get in our graveyard. So we are a little bit susceptible to graveyard hate, but we are in blue-white. Most players will not Bajuka Bog you, I promise. And we want the high CMC spells. So if we would run all of the 0 mana artifact ramp from CDH, we would not be able to play this card because we're not going to get enough value in. If we don't have any high CMC cards, it's going to be very hard. So this is a very casual friendly card. We want controlled self-mill, overdraw, and cards that go into our graveyard. So we don't want any cards that say you have no max hand size, because otherwise we cannot discard the access cards into a graveyard for this card. we have a lot of cards that let us overdraw. We want controlled self-mill, which means we don't want just cards that say, oh, mill this many cards. That's it. We want draw this card. We want mill 3, put one of them in your hand. Stuff like that. Because once the Capellan Triad is in the graveyard, it's a little bit harder to get her back. We're not a dedicated graveyard deck. We do not have all the tools. And then, once we get her off, we of course want tokens and smaller creatures, even with evasion or with double strike sometimes, to get the full value out of them being 9/9s. And there's also another secret trick I'm going to tell you guys. If your commander is in the graveyard, you can exile your commander for the emblem in order to get it. So it's an extra 4 CMC that you're getting towards your emblem. And then after you paid for it, you put your commander back in the command zone and you get access to your commander again. So it's basically a free 4 mana if you just let it die beforehand. That's a cool trick. Next. So, one very exciting thing about this commander is no one expects you to do it, because this commander basically says, when your sagas come in, they get the first chapter, and then you get the second chapter right away, as long as you play them on your turn. If you play them on your opponent's turn, this doesn't work. But playing the sagas on your opponent's turn sometimes is also necessary. Let's look at how this works. So, let's say, for example, we have the Ballad of the Black Flag, a very great card in our deck. We can play the Ballad of the Black Flag in our upkeep, build 3 cards, put 1 historic card in our hand, go to our draw phase, draw, and then our main phase starts. And when our main phase starts, the saga goes up again, because it was there before our main phase started. If you have some top deck manipulation and you want to draw a card first before you play this, you can also play this card at the end of your draw step. So draw a card, play the card at the end of your draw step. This is of course only when your commander is up, because then you have flash, and then the saga will trigger again. So it will trigger twice right away. Super exciting. Ballad of the Black Flag, very, very cool to get the Capellan Triad going. It also goes through graveyard because it's a saga, and then your historic spells cost 2 less. That is the turn you want to go off, right? You want to play as many free rocks as possible, because most of our rocks are 2 mana, then they will be free, and so many different legendary cards that you can play. It's very exciting once the fourth chapter goes off, and yeah, for a 3 mana card, this is very good at this deck. Then we have Elspeth Cockerstaff, very good 5 mana staple, I'd say. Like a lot of Brago decks run it because they can flicker it. There is a few ways we can get some extra value out of it, which I'll explain later, but yeah, it's just a very solid card. Removal, a little bit of hate, and the hate we can time right away, so that when the card comes in, as I said, in our upkeep, first chapter, second chapter right away we get the hate, and then the next turn after we get the reanimation. Very, very cool. Knight of the Doctor, same thing. We can get both chapters in one turn, or we can play this even during our opponent's turns and destroy our creatures at instant speed. Very, very useful. And yeah, and then if our commander gets destroyed, we can even bring him back, or we can bring something else back and have him to exile for the Triad. Very nice. Next, we have War of the Last Alliance. This is a cornerstone of the deck, since we do have a little bit of a toolboxy strategy going on. The first chapter happens twice. We can search for a legendary creature, put it in our hand, and then it happens again on the second chapter, which, yeah, we can get both chapters in the same turn, which is funny. Sometimes we do want to have the chapters separately though, so keep in mind whenever you play any of these sagas, keep in mind the timing. Keep in mind, sometimes you don't want to rush through the saga, and sometimes you do. And sometimes you also want to keep your mana open. Every time you play your saga in your upkeep, you're not going to be able to keep as much mana open as you would otherwise. And, of course, Double Strike and Ring Temptation Trigger is also very, very useful to close out the game. Very powerful after you've gotten those legendaries. Next, let's look at the tutor targets for the War of the Last Alliance, since it gets us 2 legendary creatures. Let's look at the toolboxy strategies. So, we have Gisela and Bruna, of course. It's amazing that with one card you can search for both halves. That is very nice. They're also very useful by themselves. And Bruna says we can return angels and humans on cast from our graveyard. And we have a lot of angels and a lot of humans in this deck. So that's going to be very exciting. Yeah, and with the War of the Lost Lines, we just search for both halves. And then we can just flip them over a lot of times very, very fast. And yeah, and since we have a lot of discard and self-mill, we'll be able to put Gazelle in the graveyard in case we can't afford both of them on the same turn. And yeah, we get this big creature with a really nice game-winning restriction that your opponents will have to deal with after. And the double strike is also very nice when we have lifelink Vigilance for strike flank. Yeah, it's a great card. It's a very flavorful way to win. Yeah. Next, we can look for this package here. Teshar Ancestor's Apostle. Whenever we cast a historic spell, we return creature CMC 3 or less from graveyard to the battlefield right away. Okay, so with this in mind, we do have a few creatures that do synergize with Teshar, but this is not a Teshar deck, right? So we did not build this just for this guy, but we have a few value creatures that we can return over and over, which is Boromir and Linvala, Shield of Seagate. Both of these creatures we can sacrifice whenever we need to protect our board, and then bring back also at instant speed, sacrifice them again, and even if we have both of them out, that will be an insane board protection that we get with that. So with the War of the Last Lines, usually I look for Boromir or Linvala first, depending on my opponent's play. If they're playing black-red, I usually get Boromir. If they're playing the other colors, I usually get Linvala. Yeah. Otherwise, yeah, that's it for these guys. Just very powerful, good static ability too on Boromir. Let's move on. Another pair we can get at the same time, which are very powerful together, is Sarah Jane Smith and Akal Pakal, First Among Equals. Yeah, Sarah Jane, great in this deck. Comes in, does nothing for now, but then we get some clues here and there, and we can always use the clues in someone else's end step in case nothing happens, just to draw cards, get more value, because we are going to be keeping our mana open. Now with Akal Pakal wants an artifact to enter not only on our turn, but on every other player's turns as well. So in each turn cycle, Akal Pakal has a potential to dig 8 cards deep, and we keep the best 4. Yeah, it's a great card. It fills our graveyard, it fills our hand, and it does not even count as a draw. So stuff like Orcish Bowmasters, they can go home. It's a great card. It also works really well with another card we have in our deck, Illustrious Wonderglyph. This is not a legendary card, this is an artifact card, so we cannot search for it with the War of the Last Lines. But Illustrious Wonderglyph and Akal Pakal are an amazing draw engine, and it is very unrivaled what they can do together. You get this huge board of 3/3s, and you get to dig 8 cards deep in your deck. It's pretty crazy. Next, we have another few value creatures that on ETB, they do something pretty good. So we always want to, when we flash something in, we want our value right away. Angel of the Runes also has plane cycling. As I was saying with the modality before, we want not only to be reactive and not only to have be unpredictable, but we also want modality in order to express as much skill as possible and learn as much about the game as possible. We want to be making mistakes. Yeah, so every game that we make more mistakes with this deck because we had so many choices to do, we learn more about the game. Angel of the Runes, plane cycling, or we can save it. We can also recur it with Bruna, very exciting. Monstrosity of the Lake, also a very similar card. And yeah, we can use it as a finisher later. I'll show you how. Lauren of the Third Path, good removal, a little bit of draw. That's also always very nice. Cheap creature as well. Good to flash in. We can block, we can sacrifice, like block and she dies. And then with Teshar, bring her back, blow something up again. Pretty crazy. Riptide Gearhulk, also one of my very, very favorite new cards in Magic. Double Strike Paralysis are insane stats, and the other ability, if we can make copies of him, we can recur him, bounce him, whatever we want to do, reanimate him. There is a lot of different things our opponents are going to be missing on their boards because of this guy. It's just a very good removal spell. Multi-target removal is something I want to preach a lot to. It's very good to have. Single target removal sometimes is not good enough against 3 players in Casual Commander, but multi-target removal is always good. Same as the Angel of Runes, of course. And yeah, there's a lot of tricks you can do with the double strike as well. Perilous Snare, just an artifact that we can flash in, also with good TTB. It basically becomes Generous Gift, only they don't get the elephant, but they can kind of get their creature back if they try to destroy it. Yeah, basically a better Generous Gift in this deck. It's very nice. And same as the Simulation Aegis, also a better Generous Gift. We can make a copy. I once made a copy of an Ulamog with this. It's pretty crazy. Like, you can just take away someone's best creature. Yeah, very, very good card. Let's move on. A certain Elk recommended me a card when I showed him this deck. It was maybe like a month or 2 ago, while I was still working on it. And he told me Thalia Exuberant Shepherd would be perfect in this deck, and he was exactly right. This little doggo has so many shenanigans it can do in this deck. It is insane. It can untap your artifacts. It can untap creatures, anything, ETBs. It can replenish your planeswalkers with loyalty abilities. And it can just get rid of the best blocker from your opponents. It's a very, very good card. It has flash as well naturally, so we can even get it out instant speed before our commander's out. It's a great doggo. I love it. We have a few other ways to blink as well. The Eternal Wanderer. The Eternal Wanderer notably can only blink artifacts or creatures. Unless we have the Lycamal Torque out, then we can blink whatever we like. So similar shenanigans can happen with the Riptide Gearhulk and Lauren and other things. Yeah. So very solid card. As I said before, the 0 ability makes a 2/2 white samurai creature token with double strike. Double strike also somewhat relevant once those creatures become 9/9s from the emblem, and the -4 is an additional board wipe. Note, we cannot use this as instant speed. Unfortunately, this is our only not instant speed board wipe, but we can play it at instant speed, and once it goes to our turn, board wipe, and then start playing stuff again. That's also good. Yeah, and if with the War of the Lost Alliance somehow we end up looking for Thalia or finding Thalia, we can also keep blinking the War of the Lost Alliance to get more legendary creatures out. So it just keeps going and going. And with the Monstrosity of the Lake, our opponent's creatures just never untap again. It's crazy. Like, we just attack, Monstrosity of the Lake gets blinked, comes back in, we pay 5, everything's tapped, everything stays tapped. They have to deal with this engine, otherwise it's GG. Yeah, we have a few copy spells. Phyrexian Metamorph, very good because we can also use it as ramp in case our opponents have a Soul Ring, or sometimes even better artifacts that make 3, maybe 4 mana. Yeah, and sometimes we even just want their best creature. And yes, it does not use a target, it's just choose, and we can just comes in. And same with the like the Wanderer. If we can turn something into an artifact, we can basically make this into anything. 3 steps ahead is only for our artifacts and our creatures. And yeah, we can just copy them. It's also a counterspell, and it's also a way to fill our graveyards. So a very, very good card. So modal, and it's very important how you choose to play with these cards. There's so many things you can do with them, especially at instant speed. You can play them anytime you want, and you have like maybe 20-30 different targets in the whole game with like 3 different modes. So there is a lot of mistakes you can do, but there's also a lot of really cool plays you can achieve with the stack, and this is all that we're about here. Next, we have a few other really good bouncers. So we can bounce stuff to our hand, or we can bounce our opponent's stuff to our hand that also have really good abilities. The Teferi Time Raveler is one of them, and we will be the only one possible to play at instant speed with all of our cards. Meanwhile, our opponents can also play at sorcery speed. This is quite a hilarious card. Hull Pick a Horror, also a very great win con, but we can also just keep bouncing our ETBers, our Sagas, and get some value. Otherwise, we can also just bounce our opponent's stuff, keep untapping our Soul Ring, Sink into Stupor, a land, and a bounce spell, and we can deal with uncounterable spells with this card. Very, very useful. Same as Hull Pick a Horror, actually. Conceptual Sauntering is basically instant speed whenever we have our Planeswalker commander out. And we can even take turns in between other people's turns, which is quite hilarious. And a lot of times this does get countered though, because people are scared of extra turns in Casual Commander. So whenever it gets countered, that's an extra 6 mana for your Triad in your graveyard, because it does not get exiled if it gets countered. And and also a bounce on it. It's great, and we can keep using our values from our Planeswalkers, from our equipments, because of the extra turns as well. Amazing card. And Otawara, a classic. Bounce our own stuff, bounce our opponent's stuff. It basically just costs 1 or 2 blue, 1 blue or 1 blue and 1 mana most of the time, because we do have some legendaries on the field. A great card. Also a legendary, so there's a few ways for us to find it and to look for it. Amazing card. We have Academy Ruins in the utility lands. Reawakening the Gearhawks. Reawakening the Angels. The Artifact Angel that blows up two things when it comes in. And lots of other things. And our equipments. And this is a great card. Putting it on top of the deck is always a good idea. Abstergo Entertainment. Similar idea, but with the downside that it does exile our graveyard. Sometimes though, we need to look for this card in order to hit graveyard decks hard, and then we just forget about the Triad for a bit, but at least we have an answer to graveyard decks. It's also searchable. Then, we're not at the lands yet. My bad. Elspeth Conquers Death is another way to recur our creatures. So this is just a reanimator package. Knight of the Doctor, Teshar, Bruna. So 6 reanimation spells. Pretty good. Next, before we get to our land base, we have some static abilities that occur all the time. So these cards, we can play them in response to Cascade, in response to maybe Suspend sometimes, and spells like that. Cast from Exile stuff, cast free stuff, and a lot of them will actually shut those decks down. So let's take a look at Storm as well. Ethersworn Canonist, good card. Elesh Grand Cenobite shuts down token decks. Makes our board a little bit bigger too. Mostly to shut down token decks. Avacyn, Angel of Hope. It's a very good protection piece. Good static ability. We have all our mana open. Someone's trying to board wipe up. Someone's trying to destroy our most valuable stuff. Flash her in. It's protected. It's great. The Fairy Time Reveler. Another good static ability. Boromir as well. No free spells. This spell we can always play in response to someone playing their dinosaur with Cascade. In response to the Cascade trigger, of course. And then once they resolve the Cascade trigger, or the Discover or whatever, the Discover they can put in their hand with Cascade. It's completely countered. Boromir is great. And Narset, I do not have in my deck currently, but if you do need to play Narset against those pesky group hug decks that your playgroup might be playing, then this is the go-to. If someone's playing group hug, if someone's playing Storm, whatever, play Narset. It's a good card in this deck, especially because you can flash it in. Doing it against wheel decks is a little bit nasty. I would not recommend you guys do that if you want to keep all your friends. So, because if someone tries to cast a wheel, you cast Narset in response, you keep all your cards, they lose all their cards. The game is just over, and you can just shuffle up and play new. It's not a good way to make friends. Don't try this at home. Speaking of pillow fort effects, so pillow fort effects like Ghostly Prison and Propaganda are ones that I was testing and playing in my deck from the inception of it, and I figured out that they are very good cards and I really want them in my deck, but they are not historic. And these cards do get blown up sometimes, and they do land in the graveyard, and then I cannot use them to get to try it or to do other stuff with them. So I looked at other options. I looked at Norn's Annex, and I looked at Barrett, Steward of Argive, and they're both not good. They just don't do the same as Ghostly Prison Propaganda. They're weaker, they give your opponent too many options, they don't make them pay enough, and forget about these cards. They're not good enough, right? They're not as good as Ghostly Propaganda. But I found something that does work for me. Crawlspace against those token decks, and it works pretty well. It does have a weakness though. Big weaknesses, you can get hit like Voltron commanders and stuff like that, which our deck can be weak to against as well sometimes. And for that, we have this other suggestion that came from Trinket Mage from one of his videos. He talked about Force Field, and I was like, that is exactly the card I needed. So now we have Force Field in this deck, and if you have both of these two on the field, it's going to be very difficult to attack you. And then sometimes you can just search for one of them. So if your opponent has a Voltron strategy, you search for Force Field. If your opponent has go wide, you go for Crawlspace, and sometimes you get both. So they're great cards. In addition to, like with Crawlspace, it's good to have something that stops the other attacker. So we can always flash in one or two creatures if it's not a Voltron strategy, if it's not like some ridiculously strong creature that's unblockable or whatever. So something like Maze of Ith could help. Maze of Ith is not historic, so I ended up not running Maze of Ith, but I ran its little sister, Core Haven. Makes a colorless mana, so very, very good in our mana package, and it basically does the same thing, and it also does not untap that creature. That is maybe sometimes an advantage, because they lose a blocker for that. Yeah, so Crawlspace plus Core Haven, also good. Let's go over the equipments for this deck. The downside of equipments, the very, very big downside, is that equipments, when they come in, they do nothing. First, they do absolutely nothing. So in order to get use of an equipment, you need to play it, you need to equip it, and you need to attack, and sometimes the attack also needs to land. For example, Sword of Feast and Famine here. So basically, the way people treat this card in Vintage Cube is they always say, oh, swords are always 5 mana. Because you don't want to play it for 3 and then it gets blown out. You always want to play it for 5, attack right away. You want to get value right away. Our commander fixes that weakness. So we can flash this in as a value piece at the player before us, the end step. And then for 3 mana, and then right away equip it during our turn and attack right away. Or if we don't have a creature out, we can also play the creature on the end step, and then when it goes to our turn, it's not summoning sick anymore, attack straight away. With Sword of Feast and Famine, for example, the colors are very relevant. Black and protection from black and green. Those are green is the most common blocker we're going to go up against because of reach, and black is most common for removal, so very, very relevant. And it does untap our mana in order to use it on other people's turns. Great synergy, and just don't attack graveyard decks with this, because they will discard their Archon of Cruelties and bring them back. Yeah, be careful of that. Otherwise, very cool card. And it fits perfectly into our mana curve too. So if we play a Mana Rock on turn 2, a 2 mana Mana Rock, Arcane Signet or whatever, we have like 10 of those in our deck. Player Commander on turn 3, and then the swords on turn 4, and then get the value straight away. Our commander also has some built-in evasion. That is a very, very good game plan that we can use a lot of times too. We just gotta know when to really go for it and when to play a little bit slower, because sometimes they can put a target on our head. Key to the Vault, very similar, but instead of untapping our lands, this time we get to cast something for free. And yeah, very good card as well. Fits right in the curve, exactly 5 mana. We can play it on turn 4. Same as Robe of the Archmage. This time this one costs only 4 because our commander is a wizard. And Reality Chip, we do not have to equip it right away, but it fits right in the curve too. It's a very good equipment, good value. Yeah, and the great thing about the the sword, the key, and the robe is they fit very well on double strike creatures. And we have maybe like 3 ways to give our stuff double strike, I think. There's the Gearhulk, there's the tokens that the Wanderer makes, and there's the Saga. So yeah, it's pretty good value if you can get them with double strike. Then we have Excalibur, 12 CMC, that is basically zero CMC every time we play it. So like it costs 0 every time we play it. For 0 we get a +10 +0 and Vigilance. Equip Legendary Creature 2. Great card. You can just run it in this deck because it's basically a free include. Yeah, there's nothing to worry about with this one. And once again, if you can get a creature with double strike with this card, it's going to be very nuts. The Equip Legendary Creature is actually quite interesting because we do have 2 cards that give us the ring trigger. If we give the ring to our double striker, the Gearhulk, make it legendary, we can equip it with the Excalibur. Our opponents are going to be in for a treat. Very nice. Shadow Spear. Great answer for aggressive decks, for red decks, for pingers. That is also one of the weaknesses of this deck. And the trample really helps for the evasion. And also get rid of everyone's hexproof indestructible. It is pretty good. Unfortunately, it does not hit Shroud, but that's okay. And it's also a Saga Tutor target, so yeah, it's very great for 1 mana. Good card. Lightning Greaves, classic. Culture Complete. I currently don't have this one in the deck, but I played with this one a lot in the past in this deck, and it has done very well. Flashing it in is crazy. Tapping the Stoneforge Mystic in order to get it is also very nice. Yeah, and Assimilation Aegis, of course, just for some removal. Every time I do have a tutor in this deck, I make sure it has a few different targets so that we don't always have the same cards to get. Which means if we need removal, protection, ramp, card draw, evasion, more power, win con, most of my tutors can get something that can help us. Even the Urza Saga has like 3 or 4 options. So yeah, that's how with the modality we get to play a lot more cards that do more things. Next, let's get to our 6/6/6 land base. So we run all of the legendary colorless cards that are great for this deck. Exactly 6, no more. Let's see what I filled the 6 slots with. Gary's Sanatorium fills our graveyard, lets us draw. Faerie Mastermind triggers. It's amazing. Inventor's Fair. A little bit of a counterbalance for the ring so that we don't lose so much life. And it's just a tutor on the land. Comes in untapped. Amazing card. Urza Saga. What else is there to say? We have 4 targets. The constructs are very nice. We can get them to like 6/6, 7/7 most of the time. Yeah, Urza Saga is it's also a historic card. It's a saga. Yeah, we have to put it in here. Academy Ruins, as I said, great card. Abstergo Entertainment and Core Haven. So these are our 6 colorless lands that we're using because we're building our 2-color deck like a 3-color deck. We're doing 6/6/6. These are our 6 colorless ones. Let's go over our 6 blue lands. Snow-Covered Island, Otawara, Sulfuric Springs, Seed of the Snoid, extra historic card, yes. Minamo, same thing. Most of the time we don't even use the ability, but it's good to have. And Archway of Innovation, turning our clues and artifact creatures that we have into ramp. Very nice. Yeah, that's our set of 6 for our blue base. And now to our white base. Snow-Covered Plains, Eiganjo, good removal. Can also use it as a land. Very good if we're keeping mana open every turn. Witchblessed Meadow. We can also blow something up. We can recur it. We can bounce it. We can flicker it on the other side. Very nice. Ancient Den, Eiganjo Castle. Sometimes useful. Most of the time, it's just a land, a historic land. And Monumental Henge, just to dig a little bit deeper to our deck. And as you can see, all of these come in untapped except for one, the Monumental Henge, and same as the blue ones before. if you're building your mana base for a 2-color deck that's not green, also make sure if you're using the 666 template, just to get your deck going, make sure they come in untapped mostly, except for one. You can have one tapped land, that's fine. Like, I don't know, Hideaway or whatever. Those are also fun to play. In this case, I have already adjusted my deck, and I have added a Minas Tirith because I have found that I have a lot more white in my deck. So in my deck, it would be 667. But you can always make the adjustments after. Don't just follow templates blindly. Test the decks. And but this template is a very good start for any 2-color decks. So 666 for the monocolors. So white, blue, and colorless. And we're also going to use 666 for our multicolors. So we're going to run 3 fetches and 3 targets for the fetches. One of them should come in untapped. And I chose Irrigate Farmland and Meticulous Archive just to dig a little bit deeper in our deck. But you can choose whichever ones you like. If you have the budget, if you don't have the budget. There's also like one other one, like a check land or something. Use whichever ones you like. In addition with 2 cyclers. This is very important. We only run 36 lands in this deck. We do need the cyclers. Keep that in mind. Don't skip on cycling. Don't skip on card draw. Don't skip on losing effects. Because you do need to go through your deck if you're only running 36 lands. Then, the next 6 are going to be 6 staples. Commentar, Orchid, and Reflecting Pool. Plaza of Heroes can almost be on any deck. You can easily replace it with something else. And the cycle of the Deserted Beach and the Sea of Clouds, I think it's a Battle Bond or whatever. Like, those can also go in any deck, any commander deck. And then we have 6 specific lands with smaller downsides. These can also go in almost any lands. In this case, I'm not running the Glacial Fortress because I am running the Minas Tirith instead. And I prioritize the filter lands like Skycloud Expanse and Mystic Gate in this deck because I need to filter mana sometimes from my colorless into the colors. So if you are using the 666, maybe get some filter lands as well. I think they help pretty well, especially in if you're using this template. Yeah, let's go over some tutors. Not tutors, sorry, game changers. As game changers, I run Enlightened Tutor. Enlightened Tutor, very good card. Can find us like half our deck, basically, and instant speed. 1 ring. Fun to play at instant speed, but it doesn't really do much at instant speed because it does the same when we play it on our turn as well. We can kind of keep it open in case we know our opponent wants to respond to it. And yeah, lots of ways to copy, flicker, bounce it in case we want to reset the burden counters. Yeah, good card. And Cyclonic Rift. If you want to choose to play with game changers, these are the ones I recommend. I do not recommend the Grand Arbiter. He's not a real game changer. He's basically a 4-mana card with Ward 1 because he is going to get blown out right away most of the time. And we have a lot of colorless cards in our deck too that he does not reduce. So yeah, I do not recommend Grand Arbiter in this deck. I also do not recommend the Ancient Tomb. It does make 2 mana, yes, but it's not legendary and it does hurt you a bit over 2, 3, 4 turns if you play it on turn 1. So yeah, I do not recommend. I recommend these 3, but you're free to change it as however you want. Next, there's a few combos in our deck. Yes, combos, but they're fair combos because they're only late game combos, like they said in the bracket system, and we are going to try to keep it fair. So this is also something we cannot tutor for, but it is good to have in our deck just in case that we are having trouble to close out the game. Game has to end at some point. Wrath and Hullbreaker Horde together are a menace because we can cast our spells, our artifacts at instant speed. So basically what Hullbreaker Horde does during our turn, we can now do during everyone's turns. First, we need to make a copy of it, with Phyrexian Metamorph or 3 steps ahead. Once we have 2 copies of Hullbreaker Horror, we can bounce the Soul Ring and the Arcane Signet between each other. And basically, it's a Cyclonic Rift at instant speed at our opponent's board. And we can keep Cyclonic Rifting during other people's turns every time someone wants to play a spell. There is a weakness to this though. If someone's holding up 2 removal spells, they can play the first removal spell, we try to bounce it, they play the second removal spell. If we don't have another card to bounce it, one of our Heartbreaker Horrors is going to go bye-bye, and then we're going to have to set up a new combo. So 2 removal spells do counter this combo if you don't have anything else, and then for each extra spell, extra removal spell, you guys get the idea. Yeah, but it's pretty solid. It can win games. And there is, of course, one more we have to talk about. Heartbreaker Horror with just a Soul Ring. Then we would need a free spell with it. So either Everflowing Chalice or Excalibur are our free spells in this deck. With those, we can bounce the Soul Ring in between each other. And we can basically make as much colorless mana as we want. And that's why I said we need filters. Filter the colorless mana by bouncing the Prismatic Lens or Arcane Signet or whatever you want as many times as you can. And then you have all your colored mana that you want. And with all the colored mana, and let's say you have 1 ring, you can draw your deck or as many cards as you want. Find for something to close out the game. If you happen to have a Faerie Mastermind, your opponent has less cards in the deck than you. Mill them out, maybe. If you have a Teferi Time Reveler, you can also try to draw your entire deck because you can keep playing, bouncing him, bounce something else, draw a card. Yeah. And Eternal Wanderer, you can make as many 2/2 Samurais as you want. So you play the Wanderer, make the Samurai, bounce the Wanderer, and so on and so forth. You got no to spiel. Okay, our ramp package, Soul Ring, has solidified itself in the format. Springleaf Drum, very important. Not a lot of people are running this. Springleaf Drum, I would recommend it any deck that has a few, it's running some creatures between mana value 1 and 4. Okay, if you're running only big stuff, don't necessarily run it. Especially if you're in green as well, you don't really need to run this. But if you're in non-green decks, I would highly recommend this. Arcane Signet, Azorius Signet, yeah, all the other staples. The Criminal Torque, slight upside. I really like it. Mindstone, Prismatic Lens, yeah. Phyrexian Metamorph, we can copy the opponent's stuff. Very, very nice. Relic of Legends makes an insane amount of mana at instant speed. And the creatures, they don't even need to be... they can be summoning sick and we can still tap them. So, a very good card. If we are running 3 mana ramp, there has to be a very good reason for that. And that's why Phyrexian Metamorph and Relic of Legends are in this deck. We have a very good reason to run them. And that's why we are breaking the rule with the 2 mana ramp. And Crystal Skull, Isu Spyglass, top deck manipulation. Once again, this is our second top deck manipulation card that we have. Or like play from the top, not manipulation. But yeah, and it's also a ramp. It's great in this deck. You can play all your legendary lands with this card. It's amazing. Sword of Feast and Famine, not really a ramp card, but does give us mana if we play it right. So keep that in mind. If you do need to find an equipment that gives you mana, but the what is it called again? Stoneblade, Stoneforge Mystic. There we go. We can get this one. And then Archway of Innovation. We can tap our equipments even, and our artifact creatures and our clues to ramp. Yeah, equipments. It doesn't matter if they're tapped or untapped. They function the same. Protection package. Skrelv and Pippin are going to be our Mother of Runes for this deck, giving them some nice evasion, giving our creatures some nice evasion and protection, as well as to face protection just to keep our board safe at instant speed once we have the control of the game. Unwind and Rewind are just very synergistic cards with our commander. A lot of people expect us to run counter spells in this deck because we're playing blue-white, but we're only going to run 3. That's how we bamboozle them. All the other cards are interaction other ways, shape, and form, which is really exciting. They think we're going to counter their stuff. We're in their head. It's great times. Some other value engines, value pieces, card draw pieces are Esper Sentinel. Hilarious when you get it to be a 9/9 with the Capitoline Triad. So now they have to pay 9 mana every time they want to draw a card. So every time they cast a non-creature spell, sorry. Mangara, just solid. We don't play Trouble in pairs because Mangara is just historic. He needs to go in the stack. Sure, Kai lets us dig. Very good card. And Remora, we can also flicker it in some rare cases, but otherwise we just keep it around for 1 or 2 turns, draw some cards. In this case, it doesn't bother me too much that it's not historic, because we just use it, it goes to Grio, it's only 1 mana anyway, it's okay. Our tutors are going to be the ones you see right here. I think we've talked about all of them except for Search for Glory. Search for Glory really good because we can search for legendaries, sagas, or snow. We do have snow basics. We have 43 targets, right around, okay? Like sometimes more, sometimes less. I sometimes change the deck a bit for this card. We have 41 targets for Enlightened Tutor, still good. 35 for Inventor Sphere, around 8 for Stoneforge Mystic, 14 for War of the Last Alliance, and 4 targets for Urza's Saga. We will always have something to tutor for and always have a lot of different options. And each tutor option, except for the Saga and except for the Urza Saga actually, has removal, card draw, ramp, win cons, anything you can think about. Like, it has a little bit of everything basically. It has some silver bullets. It's pretty good. The deck architecture for this deck looks as follows. We have a lot of card draw, removal, protection, right? 20 of each. That is a good solid number. 17 ramp-ish. Tutors, win cons. 3 board wipes. I used to play with more board wipes in this deck, but it just made the games go for a little bit longer than I wanted to, and playing with less board wipes also made me think about how I want to advance my own game plan more. And it really helped me become a better player too. And not just like, okay, let's just wait at instant speed until we can board wipe and then play our stuff. No, it's like, we want to also build up our value engine quickly and efficiently. So all in all, that's a total of 148 cards in those categories. So you can already tell that there's a lot of overlap. A lot. Considering that we have 36 lands. There's a lot of overlap between all the cards. So much modality. Yeah. That's it for this deck. If you've enjoyed, please subscribe and like. And yeah, I'll see you guys hopefully very soon in the next one. And start building your own decks that make you a better player. Remember, modality and flexibility, as well as being responsive and being unpredictable. Choose a commander that's not super popular and try it out. It is super fun. It'll make you a better player. Make a lot of choices. See you guys.